Hi, my name is James Skemp, and these are some random thoughts on perception. I've been out of college for about 5 years now. It's like a month shy, 5 years. And one of the things I can still remember is, and I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, and it's not going to be exact, of course, but I had this professor, Dr. Null. He was a philosophy professor. He's higher level. Probably should have been teaching graduate students instead of undergraduate. And he was talking about you're walking down the street, walking down a main street, and there's stores, shops, and to the left you see a clothing store, and in the window you see what appears to be an employee. And as you get closer, you realize that it's not actually an employee, it's just a mannequin, because they're not moving around, they're just standing still, they're looking out the window, they've got some clothes on, it's just a display model. And as you get closer, you look into the window, and right before you turn away, you notice that the eyes on the mannequin briefly look down at you, or they close, or you realize that once again you were wrong, that what you thought was a mannequin, and before that what you thought was a person, is in fact actually a person. And he was talking about this in regards to intentionality, or Husserl, or Corrado, or one of those intentionality philosophers. And why it really stuck with me is because of the whole idea of perception as reality. And that's really been my focus. That's why I really like Schopenhauer, I think, because of how he goes about talking about the world as being perception, and then what's beyond perception, or what's underneath that. And possibly, another example, you're walking down the street and you see someone and it's your friend. So you raise up your hand and you go, "Hey, somebody," and as you get closer, you realize that in fact that's not your friend. That's just somebody who looks like your friend. Or you're at a party, you see somebody across the way, they wave at you, they're waving at you, so you wave back, and as you do so, somebody comes over to your side and walks up to the person. That's actually who the person was waving to. Until you realize that, you had a certain view of reality, and because of the way things progressed, your view of reality changed. Schrodinger's cat, in some way, I don't remember the physics of it, but way back in high school is when I first read the article about Schrodinger's cat. You get a cat inside of a box, there's a gun, there's a atomic particle that's got a particular half-life, and basically at the moment that you're in the situation, the cat could be either dead or it could be alive. Possibly the gun went off, possibly it didn't. Until you open the box, you don't know. It's both alive and dead to some extent. There's physics of why it's really important, but from a philosophical standpoint, it's really what you see is reality, and you can't go all the way down to reality is my perception, but maybe you can. I mean, philosophically, you don't want to go that route, because basically that means that anybody can do whatever they want, because you are reality. You are the only thing that exists. who knows? I mean, back in high school, I asked the question of a coworker. I was working at fast food, as in the kitchen, and there's this guy Bill, and he was very religious, and basically I asked him the question, how do you know that I'm not God? How do you know that at this moment you're being tested, that you're already dead, and basically God is everyone, so from his perspective, everyone external to him is God, and that means that I'm God. Now, me, I know that I'm not God, but I know that I'm not God, but he doesn't know me, which is another great part. I know that I am. I know that I think a certain way, but I don't know that of anybody else. I don't know that the way I think is in any way the same as the way you think. And the same way, you have no idea that the way you think is the way I think. I could not even exist. I could just be pure CGI, albeit very poor CGI. But it's possible. It's always possible. And I think that's one of the main things in philosophy that will always stay with me, is that you don't know anything. I mean, truly, you know that you don't know. That's it. You can always be proven wrong. What is it? The sun will always rise, except for the one day before it or the last. the sun will always rise, except for when it doesn't. Basically, when the sun goes supernova or when it dies, it's not going to rise anymore. Or if the Earth stops, or if the Earth explodes, it's not going to rise. And that very statement, the Earth or the sun is going to rise, implies a certain perspective. Basically, the perspective of us on Earth. If we were, on one of the poles during one of the periods of time where the sun doesn't rise, it just kind of goes in the sky and then comes back up. It never sets, it never rises. It's perception. Perception is reality. It's very interesting stuff. And it will always be one of the core philosophical principles that stays with me.